Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Tailosive Tech, live on YouTube, once again via continuity camera. So we've done this once before, and I apologize in advance. Oh, let me hear my audio just for a second. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, it doesn't sound terrible. Obviously, I think the MacBook Pro microphone sounds a little bit better, but until Ventura is out for the public, I can't use the MacBook mic and continuity camera at the same time. But we've gotten a new beta update on macOS Ventura since the last time I used continuity camera. If you recall the last live stream we did with this, it works pretty well. I'd say about 85-95% of the time. In case you don't know what this feature is, basically you can connect wired or wirelessly your iPhone to your Mac, and it will treat the onboard camera as the webcam, which that onboard camera looks miles better than the onboard webcam you get in most Macs. In this particular example, I'm also using the onboard microphone. So you're hearing me through the iPhone, you're seeing me through the iPhone, but I get to use OBS. I have a lot more control over bitrate settings, and live stream settings, and overlays for animations for when people, subscribe to the channel or super chat and that kind of thing. So it's kind of the best of both worlds because obviously the webcams on Macs are okay, they're not great, and but they give you a lot more control than the apps and third-party software you have to use on an iPhone to live stream directly off of that. So this type of feature is super perfect for someone like me. But it's not completely ironed out yet. It's still in dev beta territory, so I'm just basically I was figuring if I wanted to do a long-term test of it and see if it improved in further betas, why not just go live, hang out with you guys, and we can talk about whatever. And at the same time, if it goes horribly wrong, I'll know about it because you'll probably start talking about it immediately. What am I using to hold my iPhone? I just have a basic Manfrotto tripod. That's made for smartphones. It works with iPhones, Androids, or whatever. And then I'm actually mounting that tripod on top of my HomePod. So the HomePod is useless now, except for the fact that I can mount my iPhone to it. So in the last live stream we did with this, we ran into bugs where the audio would cut out and get really pixelated and buggy. And there were other times where the video feed would completely disconnect and the live stream would drop. So I apologize if there's lag or if it starts buffering. We are using beta software right now, so that's potentially why that's going to happen. But for beta software, it's pretty dang reliable. Yeah, I would say around 90% of the time it's fine. And before I switch over to it completely and use it all the time, I need it to work, at least 99 or 98% of the time. Are you using the front-facing camera or the rear one? I actually haven't found... Oh, thank you, Michael, for the support. Good afternoon. Nothing gets by you, indeed. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know, should we talk about that on the live stream? I don't know if MKBHD will get in trouble for it, but yeah, it's out there. It's in the public now. It's kind of too late. But Evanson was asking if this is the front or the rear. With continuity camera, you can only use the rear-facing camera. As far as I'm aware, and from what I can tell, there's no way to use the true depth camera system for continuity camera, which I don't know why you would. If you're going to use your iPhone as a webcam, use the best possible camera, which is the one on the back. But there's no option that says like flip to the front camera. That would just be kind of weird to have the iPhone with the screen on top of the MacBook or your iMac or whatever. You would be covering up half the screen anyway. So there's very few advantages to using the front-facing camera at this point. So I know people always want me to test the desk view thingy. There's not an easy way for me to show you it, but I already did check it right before going live, and no, I don't see it working any better. So basically the only thing I can do is show my desktop like this, and if I go up to Control Center here, go to Video Effects, and then hit Desk View, it opens an app, and then obviously, as you can see, doesn't really work. It's trying to do this weird like crop thing, but the way at least it's intended is not working. I mean, to be fair, I do have my phone mounted in kind of a weird way, so that might be part of the problem. But even if I put the phone up exactly... Oh, maybe it's getting closer. I don't know. Even if I put the phone up where the iMac... So where I'm holding the phone right now exactly is precisely where the phone would be mounted if I bought a super expensive Belkin smartphone mount and put it on the iMac. As you can tell, it's kind of getting the flat surface here, but not really, and there's not really any settings to adjust that. So, as much as people love asking about the desktop view and they want me to turn it on, as you can tell, it basically does not work. It's pretty much useless. So I'm just going to leave that off. The other weird thing is, as soon as you activate desktop view, it wants to default to center stage. So center stage can come back online, but as you also can probably tell, center stage uses the ultra wide, so it's a bit more compressed. So that's why I just turned off desktop view, and then it defaults back to the standard lens. Okay, what am I using as the mic? The iPhone. The iPhone is the mic. Views on auto switching with AirPods between devices. It's never worked reliably for me. I've always been very frustrated with it. I'll put in AirPods and they're trying to switch back and forth and they usually get it wrong. So I just turn it off. A lot of people don't seem to know that. You can go into settings or your AirPods settings and just, instead of saying switch to this device automatically, you can tap that and switch it to when last connected to this device. And as long as you do that on all your devices, AirPods will not try to jump around between, because it was annoying me too much. I would just be on the laptop or on the phone and I would want to connect the AirPods and they're like, oh, he's using his phone now. I'm like, no, I'm not. Come on, please don't. Yeah, it makes me look pregnant. Don't worry, guys, I'm not pregnant, I'm sure. Would you still recommend the 2018 iPad Pro over the newer ones? If you can get them at the right price, I mean, I wouldn't recommend them, if they were the exact same price. But yeah, I guess if the few advantages an iPad has going for it at this point are note-taking capability and drawing, and you want 120 hertz and you want Face ID, you'll probably be able to find a 2018 iPad Pro for $400-500, maybe $600 for the larger one. And I still would say yes, it's not worth the extra $400. I would not put a $400 price tag or even a $300 or $200 price tag on Stage Manager. I don't think that feature alone is worth it. Or the M1 performance is really not going to be that noticeable either. What happened with MKBHD? So I was a little bit hesitant to talk about it because I don't think it was intentional. Marquez likes to put Easter eggs in his videos. And I appreciate all of the time and attention he puts into his content. So I don't know if this was an intentional Easter egg or not. I think that something could he might get potentially in trouble for this. But essentially, he dropped a review recently on the Asus ROG phone, and he's showing the display in one part of the review, and he shows a calendar widget. And in the calendar widget, there is a reference to the M2 Macbook Air briefing on July 7th at 2 p.m. So that has a lot of people thinking, oh, he must be meeting with Apple or he must be getting an embargo unit on July 7th. And then there's a different part of the screenshot. There's a different part of the video where you can see the phone saying... the MacBook Air embargo date is on July 14th at 9 a.m. So if this is not a joke and this is not a troll, I guess that means to expect all of the YouTubers' M2 Macbook Air videos to drop. He's on Eastern time. So it would be 6 a.m. Pacific on the 14th, which is rumored to be the day before they launch for everybody. So it's just, I guess, pretty predictable. It's pretty standard for Apple to have the embargoes around that time, and usually you order it on one day and then a week later it's available in stores and that kind of stuff. So I hope he doesn't get in trouble for that, because I don't want Marquez to get in trouble. So I was a little bit hesitant to talk about it, but I was like, people are tweeting about it already, and 9to5Mac wrote an article about it. So I'm definitely not like breaking the news on this one. Michael in the chat earlier was one of the first ones to tweet it out. Have you tried using iPad with software like TeamViewer so you can use the Mac you have at home with your iPad when you're away? I don't, because I have a MacBook Pro, so I really have no... The only thing I would use remotely would be my iMac Pro, but I have no need to use the iMac Pro remotely because I have a much faster MacBook that I take with me anyway. It doesn't have Stage Manager unless you have M1. I suggest looking at it. I don't care about it. It's not a great feature for me. Yeah, I still can't find a way to make it useful in my workflow. I'm happy for you if you can, but as far as iPads go, Stage Manager doesn't really enable that much that you can't do before. It's just another version of multitasking. It's like a slightly better version of multitasking that's available on the iPad with M1 and not on the A12Z iPads for some reason. But I don't see it as a tremendous selling point because regardless of how many apps you can run at the same time, there's still the same iPad apps which are still limited and still lacking a lot of functionality. So that's why I'm kind of like, who cares if you can view those apps in a better way? It's ultimately it's the same limited apps. I just sold my iPad Pro 2018 because I don't like iPadOS anymore. Well, there you go. Maybe someone. I haven't plugged mine in weeks now. Mine is just dead, sitting off camera here. But yeah, there's still occasional times where it's a bit annoying to do all the thumbnails and stuff off my phone because, like, I was setting this up and I was like, okay, I want to do a live stream straight off of the iPhone camera, but then I was like, I need to design a thumbnail for the live stream. But I do all of my thumbnail design on the iPhone, so I have to like pull the iPhone off the tripod, open the apps, and start working on the thumbnail and everything. And I was like, okay, it's not that I need the iPad for this situation. It's just a secondary iOS device of some kind. Like I could have done the exact same thing if I just had two iPhones. At this point, I would almost rather have two iPhones. Can you choose what lens is being used in continuity camera? Basically, you have the choice between the ultra wide. But if you switch to the ultra wide, it has to have center stage on, or the main lens, which is what the default is. That's what I'm using right now. That's the lens that looks the best. But that's pretty much all the control you have. Like I said, you can't use the front-facing camera. You cannot switch to the telephoto lens. And one thing that I would kind of like that they don't have, which is a bit of a bummer, is I would like to use the ultra wide lens without center stage. Right now, you can turn on center stage and it switches the ultra wide. But as soon as you turn off center stage, it switches you back to the main lens. I've taken videos before just using the full sensor and you zoom out all the way with the ultra wide, and I think that angle looks really cool. And it definitely looks sharper because with center stage you're doing a digital zoom on that ultra wide, so that's why it looks more grainy and less high quality. So I think you would retain a lot of that quality and you would have less grain if you let people just use the full ultra-wide sensor, and you could easily add that in Control Center on the Mac, but they don't have that. So opinions on fingerprints on the Midnight M2 Air? That's a specific question. But yeah, I did see the part of the video where Marquez said that Midnight gets a lot of fingerprints. I think he's over-exaggerating how little fingerprints all the other colors get. Like, I notice fingerprints on all devices. Like, I got the silver iPad Pro, I got the graphite iPhone 13, and I got the space gray MacBook Pro. All of them, whether it's aluminum or steel, collect fingerprints. It just depends on how much oil you have on your finger. So yeah, I'm sure that Midnight also shows fingerprints, but I noticed those same fingerprints and like oil smudges on iPads and MacBooks that are not Midnight as well. So I'm kind of under the belief that he's making it out to be a bigger issue than it is. But again, he probably has more validity on the subject because he's seen the MacBook Air in person and I have not. I was planning on getting the Midnight MacBook Air, but part of me wonders if I shouldn't, just because probably everybody's going to get the Midnight Air, so maybe I should get a different one just to mix it up a bit. But I noticed those oil smudges and fingerprints on everything. Does continuity camera work from iPad Pro's camera? No, that would require the iPadOS team to do work, which they refuse to do. So no. I don't know why, considering Macs with Intel processors that are slower M1, why can't you use continuity camera on an iPad? And I'm not talking about using the iPad's camera. I'm talking about if I want to do a FaceTime call or live stream like this off of the iPad, but I want to use the iPhone's camera, why can't I do that if the Mac can do it? Well, it's because it's an iPad and iPads aren't supposed to do that. So, get the one you want, sir. Well, I thought the midnight color looked the coolest, so that's the one I was thinking of getting. But I know I'll probably be unoriginal in the ocean of MacBook Air reviews that floods YouTube, because I think everybody's going to get the same color. Is the M1 Air still worth going for? Just get the M2 Air. It really just comes down to what you care about. Like, I would say if you care about having a better webcam design, if you care about having better port selection or a bigger display or a brighter display or better speaker, if the changes in the M2 Air sound interesting or like things that you would take advantage of, then get that. But if all those things sound uninteresting or boring to you, yeah, there's a huge cost savings by going with the M1 Air, especially if you go certified refurbished. Every time I check, I'm still able to find M1 MacBook Airs going for $850 on the certified refurbished page, which is basically new if you buy it from Apple. You get the full warranty, you get the accessories, and you can barely tell it's been used before. And they replace a lot of the components in that MacBook as well. So I'd say if you're more on a budget and you're like, I could really use the extra $200 or $400 on something else, then no, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with the M1 MacBook Air. I still think it'll get software updates for another 5 years at least, maybe more. And most people probably don't even max out the M1 chip, which is why I don't care too much about the M2 chip being throttled or the read and write speed not being as good on the base model. Is like majority of people buying those chips are not taking advantage of it. I don't care how Apple markets it or how they say it can be used. It's like most people aren't doing that with those machines. Is tabletop mode working? Unfortunately not. I tested that earlier. I showed it at the beginning of the stream, and it basically looks as crappy as it does in the last update. So I don't know when they're going to get that working or how, but no, it's just a big blurry mess. Let's see. 12.9-inch iPad on a MacBook. Yeah, you have the giant Belkin mount. It's like this giant circular piece of plastic, and you got to mount that on your MacBook somehow. Yeah, I know everyone's complaining about the throttling, but I just don't think the people buying those machines notice or care. You don't even need the iPhone to make thumbnails. No, there's an app I used on the iPhone. It used to be called Over, now it's called GoDaddy Studio, but the app is so much better for thumbnail design than anything I found on the Mac. I can't find a photo editing app. Photo editing with a keyboard and mouse is just not that great. I've done it in the past. I used to use Adobe Photoshop. But then Creative Cloud got way too expensive, and I was like, well, this isn't worth it. And the GoDaddy Studio app, not a sponsor or anything, that's just who I use. I hate the name, by the way. I preferred it when it was called Over, but they got bought out. But just having a touch interface that you can easily mask things on, or I know there's subject lift and stuff now, but I just have yet to find a photo editing app on the Mac that's as easy or as intuitive. I would want to try it myself. Should I upgrade my 2020 Intel MacBook Air to the M2 Macbook Air or the M1 Pro 14-inch Pro? I love these questions because they don't give me any context on what your situation is or what you're using it for. So if you don't give me the context, I don't know what you're expecting me to say. Yes, no, yes, upgrade, no, don't upgrade. It's like, depends on the scenario. Is that MacBook slowing down? Is it unusable? Can it not get you through your daily work tasks? If it's a burden to you and you can't get by with it, then yeah, it's probably worth upgrading. But if you're comfortable with it and it works and it gets the job done, there's no need to upgrade on something just because something else has come out and it's newer. That's not a good reason to upgrade. If you're happy with your current MacBook and it's getting by fine, then just hold on to it. Unless you're convinced that for your work or for your job, getting that faster CPU or getting that newer design with better ports is going to help you do your job better, to the point that you can justify that cost because it'll make you money and that kind of thing. Yeah, okay. I don't know how to say her name. Trajector says I use it on iPhone every day. Yeah, it's a pretty sweet app. But they're piggybacking off of the intelligence of the Over design team, which I still think Over was better when it was independent, but I guess that ship has sailed. Photoshop on iPad is horrible. Yeah, I never used it on the iPad. I always used Photoshop on the Mac back when it was a thing. Should I buy 3 Mac Studios or 5 M1 Ultra MacBook Pros? If you can buy those, you should definitely buy them because I don't think they exist. So that makes them incredibly impressive. I'd love a better keyboard on my 2019 iPad. Well, your iPad keyboard. I guess there's some people that like seeing that. Hey, Jacob G, thank you so much for the super chat. That was nice of you. How is it that we got rid of the headphone jack, but FM radio still exists? Last time I checked, they air more commercials than music. Pandora and Apple Music have FM radio beat. No, they absolutely do. I don't know how they still exist either. I guess cars? There's a lot of older cars that still pick up FM radio. If I'm being completely honest, a lot of the time my wife doesn't feel like pulling out her phone or getting my phone to connect to the car Bluetooth, because we have an old car. My car that I'm currently driving is the same age as the original iPhone. It was made in 2007, and it didn't have Bluetooth built into it, and it didn't even have an audio jack built into it, which I thought was weird. It was just this terrible design because all you can basically listen to music through on that car is the radio and CD players. That's it. So we have this converter that connects to your phone via Bluetooth, and then ooh, it froze for a second. Hold on. I'll continue that question once I ensure that the video feed is working. Is my audio all messed up? Ooh, it froze for a second. Hold on. I'll continue that. Okay. Audio sounds okay. Oh, now the OBS is freaking out. Oh my god. Jeez, what happened to the bit rates? Whew. OBS is concerned. All right, that was 20 minutes into the test. We have our first bug. And now the bit rate's way lower for no reason. I have a feeling that it switched to Wi-Fi for some reason. Maybe it's because the phone is hot. Yeah, it does feel kind of hot. Audio is fine, which is good. But I get the feeling that it switched to Wi-Fi and that made the OBS freak out, and that's why the bit rate went down. Okay. If audio is good, then I'll keep going, and hopefully it doesn't make that. I don't know if you hear that chime, but whenever you activate continuity camera, your phone plays that chime. But anyway, a lot of the time, my wife doesn't like using the Bluetooth to FM transmitter thing because it gets interference from other radio signals. So she will just use the preset stations, and we'll listen to music off the FM radio, still with our car from 2007. But I don't like listening to music off the radio either because there's so many commercials and there's so much unnecessary talking and people that keep interjecting and say, oh, you're listening to blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't care. Just play the music. And the audio signal you get through FM isn't that great anyway, at least where I live. So all of this could be solved if I had a car that just had Bluetooth built in. The only reason we're not using the Bluetooth FM transmitter all the time is because it gets interference from other FM stations. But if the car just had Bluetooth baked into it by default, we wouldn't have that interference. So our next car, which hopefully should get here next month or the month after, within the next couple months we're going to get a newer car, and that's going to have Bluetooth baked in. Plus it'll be it's a Tesla, so it'll have audio streaming built in automatically. So I could just play music straight from the car. I don't even need to connect my phone if I don't want to. But can you charge your iPhone while using continuity camera? So as far as I've seen, no. I can plug it in, but when I go to video effects, it says charging on hold. And when I check Control Center on the iPhone, it says that charging is paused because of battery heat or whatever, or like the device is hot, so it doesn't want to charge the battery. So essentially, if you plug in the iPhone and use continuity camera, it will keep the feature running, but it doesn't increase the state of charge from what I can tell. In fact, in previous tests, I've seen the state of charge go down, not up, but I'm not sure if that's just because the phone's getting hot, and it's kind of hard for me to test if that's a heating issue. Like, would it charge up if it was not overheating? I don't know how to test that, other than I guess I have to put my phone in a freezer, but I don't think that many people are going to use continuity camera with their phone in a freezer either way. But yes, nobody. I'm getting a Tesla. I've only told 30,000 people on the EV channel. How did you know? Mike says FM and AM are still heavily supported where commercials keep them alive. Many like listening to sports through that medium or just find the personalities radio stations more alluring than streaming. I don't know why people do it, but yeah, there's still a lot. I mean, there's still newspapers. I don't know why, but there's still a lot of people that read the newspaper, and there's newspapers that are still printing and active and bringing the news to people and charging you monthly for it, even though the internet is a thing. Yeah, this should be a pretty huge upgrade. I'm very excited. I'll talk all about my ownership experience of that car over on the EV channel, because I'm very excited for it. Probably more excited for that purchase than any purchase in my life. So that's a big one. We talk about it over on EV. It's basically the Model 3 rear-wheel drive with the lithium iron phosphate batteries. But anyway, Walmart has a Walmart radio and it does the same thing and it's annoying. I've heard my dad actually used to work in radio. He used to be one of those guys that talks in between the stations, and he said that there was some mindset for it, and back in the day they used to have some argument for it that said like people wanted the radio to sound like there was someone on the other end. You couldn't just do music. There was, at least pre-internet or before music streaming was a thing on phones and Pandora and stuff, there was this argument, and I think they had data to back it up, that if you had someone talking between the stations saying, hey, thanks for tuning in, now we're going to be moving it, like if it sounded like a DJ, those radio stations, I guess, used to perform better than the stations that had no talking. I don't know why. I guess it sounded more personal, or people like tuning into stations that had more personality to them. But I remember my dad telling me stuff about that, and that resulted in better ratings. But yeah, now that podcasts are a thing, and now that cellular data is so widely accessible and that kind of stuff, there's no chance. There's no hope. They're dying off. It's just a matter of time. It's kind of like Intel and the Mac right now. It's like, I don't think Intel's sticking around in the Mac, but it's still there. You know, you can still buy an Intel Mac Pro, even though Apple literally said in one of their more recent keynotes that they're releasing another Mac Pro later this year, and it'll be better and have faster silicon. But they're still taking money for the Intel Mac Pro. They're still selling the Intel Mac Mini, but there's not much of a future in it. And that's how I feel about newspapers. They're still here. They're still around, but not much of a future in it. And same thing with FM radio, talk radio, and that kind of stuff. I can see why you get attached to personalities. I definitely don't. Hey, thank you for the super chat, Ben. He says, would you ever get a second iPhone so you could have a second iOS device instead of using your iPad? I'm tempted. At this point, just because I already have the iPad, it would probably financially make more sense to just be like, okay, if I need to make a thumbnail, I'll just grab the iPad real quick, because I already have that, opposed to I don't have a secondary iPhone. So if I wanted to do that trend, I would either have to buy one or sell my iPad Pro and hope that the sell costs for a decent iPhone, but I probably wouldn't get much for my iPad Pro. Last time I tried to sell my iPad Pro, it did not get very many offers. I think it was like $300 or something. I don't know why that Intel Mac Mini is still there. So I guess it would depend on how good the camera is on the iPhone and how cheap I can get it. But at this point, no, it would probably just make more sense to keep using the iPad since I already have it. Oh, Latrell Jennings. Hey, it's good to see you. I haven't heard from you in a while. He says, I still want somebody talking on the radio. Some people like it. I definitely don't. I get super annoyed every time someone starts talking and going off about why they like something, or they try to work jokes into it. I'm just like, get rid of this. I mean, I have Spotify already, you know. I just want to just play the music. You don't need to have me talking. Maybe it's because I have my wife there. I have someone to talk to already. I don't need someone else talking to me. I don't drive alone very much at all, you know, because I work from home. So if I'm ever driving somewhere, it's typically with my wife, or at least with my friends or someone. So I don't need someone else talking. It's ads going on in the background are kind of like the bane of my existence. That's why I pay for YouTube Premium, and I despise commercials, and one of the reasons I don't do sponsorships in my videos, it's not because I think you guys would mind. I think all of you are accustomed to there being sponsors in all your YouTube videos, and I've had countless people in the chat and the comments say, you can do sponsored videos, I don't care, like it won't bother me, I'll just skip it or whatever. But it bugs the crap out of me because I watch a lot of YouTube and I pay money to get rid of the ads, and then there's still ads there. So it's something like I mute it whenever there's ads on my TV. And what kills me is I'll often be at like family or friends' houses, and they have cable TV, which I never even had cable TV growing up, and I especially don't have it now. But other people grew up with it, and they just leave the TV on all day. They don't care if it's actually playing content. It'll just be playing ads. And like people are eating dinner and like having conversations, and there's just ads playing in the room. You know, the TV's volume is on, you can hear it, everything they're saying, and the screen is showing all the ads. And I'm like, you just put up with that for like hours a day. There's just commercials playing over the top of all of your conversations and while you're cooking and stuff like that. Like that annoys the crap out of me. I can't stand that. So that's why I guess I'm just from a different generation. I guess some people like don't mind it, that kind of thing. But thank you for the super chat, Ben. That was very kind of you. You think they'll add continuity camera to iPad OS, not using your iPhone camera for your iPad, but the iPad camera on your Mac? No, it at least the way Apple was advertising it, they always wanted to showcase the iPhone being mounted to the Mac. And they would have to alter iPad OS code. iPad OS can't even get optimized battery charging. The Apple Watch got the calculator app and optimized battery charging before the iPad did. So continuity camera would require another layer of support. It's the same reason the Apple Watch can't connect to the iPad. I don't know why it can't, but it can't. I think there would be people willing to try that if it was an option. Like a cellular iPad mini with an Apple Watch connected to it. So many people, I think, would actually try to use it as their phone, but they can't. I don't mind the DJs / personality talking in the morning, since there are many stations that let them talk longer and present news stories. Yeah, my dad used to listen to those. I was like, if I want to check the news, for one, they never have anything interesting. It's always like, oh, here's some new terrible news. It's like, I'll check Twitter. I'll check, I'll go online if I want to check the news. I don't need someone reading it to me. Background noise that's commercials is what bothers me. I don't mind ambient noise that's like a fan or music playing, but people telling me to buy stuff, I can't stand it. It drives me nuts. My work is literally making commercials for businesses. I'm so sorry, Drew. Personally, I love commercials, analyzing them. Well, if all commercials were done well, I wouldn't mind them as much. But there's so many crappy commercials, or the same commercial that plays over and over again. Like, commercials are a necessary evil. Majority of my income is through YouTube ads. So they need to be there, and they allow things to be free. But that doesn't mean I have to like them, especially when they're annoying or cringy, or they have terrible marketing strategies and that kind of stuff. I'm a Gen Z at heart. That's true. That's me. So we need ads, but I just wish people would put more time and effort into them, because a lot of people do not. A lot of people just are lazy with advertising and just try to come up with the shortest and least thoughtful commercial they can. Live streams like this is the new radio. Yeah, there you go. Some commercials are straight up mind control. That's true. Hey, Legion, thank you for the super chat. He says, is iOS 16 worth updating beta-wise? You got to be prepared for the bugs. Don't update to iOS 16 expecting it to be super smooth. And I would not recommend it on something that you definitely need for work. Like, I don't know if you take pictures or videos for work or something, but there's bugs. They're not cataclysmic, at least in my experience. They're not so bad that the phone becomes unusable, but they're there and they're noticeable and they're kind of annoying. For me, in beta 2 of iOS 16 right now, that what I'm noticing is a lot of whenever I take a picture or a video and then I want to preview it, I click the button in the bottom left corner. It's cropped and it's the wrong orientation, and no matter how I move the phone, it breaks. It doesn't show the picture and video in its proper form, so I have to close the app and open it in Photos to view it, which is a little annoying. So it gets old. But for the new features, if you think you'll use them and appreciate them, then yeah. Like, for me, it's totally worth it, because I'm getting so much use out of the subject lift. I've been using subject lift in iOS 16 for all of my video thumbnails. That saves me so much time. I've been able to get things done much faster than I would have if I didn't have iOS 16. So I'm grateful to have it, and I can use it for work. But if those features sound interesting and usable for you, and you can put up with some bugs here and there, then yeah, go for it. I only listen to the radio at 7:25 a.m. here in Atlanta. It's a show at 94.5 called Second Date Update. Juicy drama to start your day off. See, that's good for you, but terrible for me. I would not prefer that at all. I don't even think the Model 3 we're getting has FM radio or AM radio tuning in it. I heard they got rid of it in more of the recent generation Teslas. And I do not care at all. I was so happy, because I was like, oh good, now there's no way to even listen to that crap in the car. And some people were mad about that. Some people were upset that the car wouldn't be able to tune in, and I was like, buy something else then. We got too much demand for these cars already. Is the continuity camera holder available already? I don't think so. I think they said it's coming in the fall, but you don't need the holder for it to work. In fact, my phone was off back here, like on the bed. And oh, thank you for the super chat, Chris. He says, "I'm a radio DJ. Keep MF alive, FM alive." I'm sorry, Chris. I hope you can keep your job, and I hope it keeps working for you. It's just I don't enjoy it. I would rather stream from my phone, but that's just me. But I appreciate the super chat. It sounds like a lot of people in the chat still appreciate it, though, so they'll keep it alive for you. But I had my phone off way behind the desk here, and I opened OBS on my iMac Pro, and I heard the chime. The iPhone played the little chime, and instantly it connected, and even though the display was off on the iPhone and the iPhone was locked, the Mac just accessed the camera and started showing it, even though it was probably a good 5-6 feet away from the Mac, and I've seen it work, and I've tested it, and it'll work like 10-15 feet away. Uh-oh. Lag spike. I'm not moving it this time. Okay. There was I don't know how long that lag spike lasted, but hopefully the audio is not completely destroyed. Let me hear.
I'm not moving it this time.
Okay, sounds all right. That was weird. OBS went down to 0 kilobits per second. I missed it. There was some lag there. I don't know if I should blame continuity camera or T-Mobile or the iMac being on the beta. There's so many things I could blame. I can't honestly tell. Options are good. Is your A12X iPad Pro still fast and smooth, even though it's practically 4 years old? Yeah, I didn't really notice any major slowdowns. I mean, I haven't used it in 3 weeks, but for the basic stuff that an iPad is capable of doing, yes, it feels pretty smooth and doesn't feel laggy or like it's slowed down a lot. That was weird. OBS said there was lag, but I didn't see any lag on the preview. Legalized Comedy says you didn't lag on my end. Okay. So maybe I should blame OBS for saying there was lag, even though there wasn't. That's interesting. That's bizarre. Let's see. There was a discount furniture store in my hometown with annoying ads. They sound like the announcer is about to have a heart attack. Like, yeah, there's a great way to do them. Like, if all ads were made by Ryan Reynolds, I wouldn't mind. He always makes ads that are, like, funny and entertaining. But that is just not most ads, unfortunately. Do you think I should wait for the new iPhone in the fall or upgrade from the iPhone Max to the iPhone 13? Wait, what? From the Max to the... You mean the 12 Pro Max to the 13? I would say probably wait at this point. You only got like 3 months to go. Very brief audio abnormality every 10 seconds or so, like a record scratch. Oh, that's interesting. Is anyone else hearing the occasional record scratch? I don't remember that happening last time. Maybe it did. The Apple Watch 6 has been freezing on me often after the normal updates, driving me crazy. Anyone else have this problem? I guess I never noticed that on mine, but that's annoying. Ryan is smart. He owns the companies he does ads for. That's true. Maybe that's why. He's incentivized to create good commercials because they're for his own brands. Legalized Comedy says no. iOS 16 and iPadOS 16 public betas are coming this week. What do you think, guys? I think if you're willing to put up with some bugs, they're worth it. iPhones are more ripe in September. That's true. Now is the time of year I'd say hold on to your current phone and just wait the 90 days. That's really all it is. Just wait another 90 days, and even if you don't care about the iPhone 14, the 13 you're thinking about buying will be cheaper by then. Apple will apply a discount to it, or you'll be able to find them on sale because they're last year's model. So, yeah, I don't think now's a good time to upgrade unless your phone is completely broken and can't be used anymore, and the software has just gotten so bad that you can't get by with it. If that's the case, try to find a certified refurbished. Like, try to find a sale on one. Just please, for the love of God, do not pay full price for an iPhone 13 right now, because they're on sale. You can find them cheaper elsewhere, and it's just not necessary. No, I agree. Even the ads in the podcast can be annoying. I agree. The only thing is, I'm not the only one who has to put time and energy into those. Um, and I want the other guys on the podcast to be reimbursed for their time that they give. So that's why we put ads on them. And there's no real inherent simple way to do it like there is on YouTube. You know, YouTube has ads that are annoying, I'm sure, as well, and even though that's the bulk of our income. But Spreaker is the podcast hosting service we use, and they basically put ads in the shows just like YouTube puts ads in videos. They're kind of randomly selected, and I would honestly rather have third parties put in ads because most people skip them anyway. I'm well aware of that. And when it's a third party ad and it's not me doing an ad read, it's very easy to tell when the ad is over because you can just skip ahead, and once you hear me talking, you know the ad is over. If I'm not talking, or one of us isn't talking on the podcast, then you know it's a commercial ad break. So it's kind of a similar format in YouTube in that, you know, we don't do sponsored ad reads where it's kind of hard to tell. Is like, well, Drew's talking, but is it a sponsored section or not? So that's the best solution we can think of. Let's see. It'll be 6 months before you can actually get an iPhone 14. Really? I think people will get it. In my experience, if you order it on launch day, if you pre-order it in the morning, you'll get it. When pre-orders go live, if you order right then, you'll get it on launch day. I haven't seen in the past 6 or 7 years, I've been up early so that I can pre-order the iPhone right as it becomes available. I've never seen them sell out in less than a minute or less than 5 minutes. If you get your order in within the first 20 minutes, that's what I've noticed, is you'll get it on launch day. I tried the top view camera at the beginning of the stream. I'm sorry, Orange, it's still not working. It doesn't work. We can safely assume that 100% of people skip ads. Yeah, I think that's safe to assume. So I think that putting in the annoying ads in the podcast, it's annoying and it's a necessary evil to reimburse the guys for their time. Thank you again, Ben. But at least the voices not being ours makes it very easy to tell if it's an ad break or not. Ben, thank you for the super chat. He says, what's the fastest way to get the audio from a video to upload to a podcast? Is there a fast way? Yeah, I'm actually going to do that right after this live stream. So I use an application. What I used to do was when I finished a live stream, I would click a button in YouTube Studio that lets you download the video. So if you upload a video or you live stream, after it's done processing, you can hit this little drop-down menu and hit download this video. YouTube doesn't give you a very high-resolution copy, but it works. For audio, you don't really need that high resolution anyway. So it downloads a 720p version of that file, and then I would take that file, put it into Final Cut, export it as an audio file, and then upload it. But I realized this is taking a long time. You know, the download took a while because the live stream is usually a couple gigs, and then the export takes a while, and then the upload takes a while. So I realized this is probably a better way to skip this. So I looked around at different Mac apps. I know that some do this better than others, but the one I found is called YouTube to MP3 by Media Human. It's a free app, and there's no ads in it, which is nice. And basically, it's just an app that works on any Mac, Apple Silicon or Intel. I don't know if it's optimized for Apple Silicon, but it doesn't really need to be. And what I like about it is the second I finish the live stream, literally as soon as I stop streaming, I can copy the link of the live stream and add it to Media Human YouTube to MP3. That's just what it's called. And it instantly queues up that live stream and starts downloading it. And it only downloads the audio. It doesn't download the whole video. It takes a little while to convert it and everything, but it saves space because by the time I'm done, usually the live stream is 200 megabytes, 300 megabytes. So it's not that big. It definitely takes less time to download than the entire video feed. And once I'm done downloading it, it's already an audio file, so I don't have to convert it. That's true. You can record and stream in OBS at the same time. OBS just has slightly different recording settings and that kind of thing. And they have the recording and streaming buttons bizarrely close together, which is quite annoying. But yeah, I know that some people probably try to pirate stuff using YouTube to MP3, which I don't do, and I don't recommend anybody do it. And I think it even has some detection for that. Like if there's something, I think if it catches music or something, it won't download the file. But I only do it on my own content. But That does save me a lot of time. It's also a website. I used to find websites that would let you download audio of YouTube videos, but they always were covered in ads. So many ads, and you had to click so many buttons, and I was just sick of it. And what I loved about the YouTube to MP3 app was you literally just paste the link in there and click one button and it starts downloading. There's no ads, there's no pop-ups, and a lot of the sites I would use would change and get bought out or taken down or moved elsewhere. So, just recording straight through OBS is probably a great solution as well, if you don't want to use an app and that kind of thing. Are the ads on the podcast targeted to individual listeners? I get mine in my native language. I think they are. I'm not entirely sure, but I know Spreaker gets that geo data. They're able to detect where people are listening from and that kind of thing. So, they probably do know. If the new Apple TV has A14, should I upgrade from my A10X model or just wait another year or two? Again, it's always with the questions of just like, should I upgrade? Yes or no? And what do you want me to say? No. Yes. Like, it depends. Is your app? Are you annoyed with your current Apple TV? Is the A10X chip too slow for you? I would say, like, if I were in your shoes, I would just get the remote. I love the new Siri remote, but I don't really care about what silicon the Apple TV is rocking. Are you playing games on your Apple TV? If not, and you're just watching content on it, then no, I don't think there's any reason to upgrade unless the A14 Apple TV has some new exclusive feature that we don't know about yet. But I'm guessing no. I think the only reason they're going to make an A14 Apple TV is likely because they don't want to manufacture the A12 chip anymore, because they've been building it for a while and there's not really many other devices using the A12 chip anymore. So I think it's just an update to simplify manufacturing, really. It's not because there's all of these great performance enhancements of the Apple TV with an A14 chip. That'll make all the difference. I don't think so. Do you think the rumors are false and Apple will release an iPhone 14 mini, or should I just get a 13 mini now? No, I don't. I don't think it's one or the other. For one, I don't think the rumors are false. At this point, with all of the rumors about display sizes and case manufacturers, it seems very, very likely, I won't say confirmed, but it seems very, very likely that there won't be a 14 mini, but there will be a 14 Max or Plus or whatever. But I don't think that means you should buy a 13 mini now, because it's very likely that Apple could keep the 13 mini in 3 months and they'll discount it $100 or $50 or something. You'll be able to get it for cheaper if you wait 90 days. I don't think the 13 mini will just vanish from existence and you'll not be able to buy one. There's a chance, I guess, they could discontinue the 13 mini and stop selling it, but they didn't do that with the 12 mini. We're halfway through 2022 and they're still selling the 12 mini, despite everyone saying that, you know, it's selling terrible and Apple's not going to continue it anymore. They sometimes shove ads in Portuguese, even though I have nothing to do with that. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know how they dictate the ads, but all I know is it's the closest we can get to like a YouTube solution of the podcast is free with ads, and if you have YouTube Premium, you can watch it on YouTube, and then there's no ads. That's the only ad-free podcast viewing experience we can offer at this point. We haven't figured out how to ditch all of that at this with the podcasts, because Spreaker uses, you know, a different system than YouTube uses and that kind of thing. Will iPhone 14 have USB-C? No, don't expect that. Apple TV dropped the ball with the 4K. They really should have supported 120 Hz. I don't think that was the problem. I don't think that many people would have utilized 120 Hz on the Apple TV anyway. I mean, it has HDMI 2.1. That can support it, right? Thank you for the super chat, Karen. He says, I remember that one live stream where you were like, if someone donates large amount, I'll take off my shirt. Someone donated that amount, but then you didn't take it off. When was that, by the way? I vaguely remember that, but I did take it off. Your memory's incorrect. I just took it off camera. That was the joke. I think I was trolling at the time, too, because that wasn't, like, coming out of left field. There was a guy, I don't remember who it was, but they were tuning in to, like, every live stream I did, and they kept asking me to take my shirt off over and over again. And I wasn't saying, and they kept, I don't know why they were saying that, but, like, 3 or 4 live streams in a row, they kept saying, Drew, take your shirt off. And I was like, okay, super chat $100, and I'll do it. And, of course, I didn't want to set that precedent, because that would be creepy, and that would be weird. So someone was like, okay, super chats, and that weird guy super chatted $100, and I said, okay, I'll take it off. And I stepped off camera, took it off, put on a different shirt, and then sat down and said, stop asking me to take my clothes off. That's weird. So that it was a troll on my end, but that was my trollish way of dealing with the troll. I was young. I don't know if I was even full-time YouTuber at the time. I probably wouldn't make that same troll now. Someone would probably get very upset with me if I did that again. They likely were very upset the last time I did that, but I just didn't want them getting comfortable with that that precedent of I'm just going to show up in every stream and ask someone to take their clothes off. I'm like, that's inappropriate. So let's not do that. But yeah, when I was first starting out, I was trying to get YouTube off the ground, and I was saving up for a lot of camera gear and computer equipment, and I was living paycheck to paycheck. So that's where I was like, hey, I'll dump water on my head for a super chat. Now I thankfully don't have to do that kind of thing, and I can just not e-beg. Is that the term? Now it's like, thank you for super chatting. I appreciate it, but I don't like need you guys to. Even if no one super chatted and no one was a channel member, that's totally fine. I could just keep doing YouTube videos and live stream and that kind of stuff. But yeah, there was funny, crazier things I guess I was willing to do when I was just starting out. Thank God I don't keep doing that. I think that would have gotten old very quickly. Is Apple moving manufacturing out of China? I don't believe so. I mean, I know that there's issues with China, but there's no one else that can really compete in terms of scale and logistics of layout of factories and that kind of stuff. You guys are funny. Shove ads and pork. Yeah, no, Apple TV has HDMI 2.1, which I'm pretty confident supports 120 hertz. So that's not the logic. I think that is preventing people from adopting it. I have an iPhone XR, really want a 14 Pro Max, but the iPhone 15 rumors are looking so good. USB-C, periscope lens, 8 gigs of RAM, full redesign. I don't know where you heard full redesign. I haven't heard that anywhere. Maybe an Apple-made 5G modem. Oh, what to do? Well, the most recent report from Quo was saying that Apple failed to develop the 5G modems, at least in time. There was a Weibo account that said actually they're not giving up on 5G modems. They're just not going to have them ready until Q4 of 2023, which would in fact mean that the iPhone 15 would not get the Apple-made 5G modem. So all I'm trying to remind you guys is that most of the time there's always tons of great rumors and great sounding things about next year's iPhone because it's so far out. And then as we get closer, it gets more and more disappointing and it gets more and more boring. So don't put all your faith. Thank you for the super chat, Jacob. I did see that. And Harrison. Oh my God, you guys are too generous today. I'll catch up on these in a second. But basically, the iPhone that is 15 months out always sounds better than the iPhone that's 4 months out. So it's very possible that as we get closer to the iPhone 15 launch, it'll be like, oh, actually, it's not Type-C, or actually the modems aren't made by Apple, and actually the periscope lens got delayed another year. So that's happened before. So don't put like too much weight in those reports. I mean, the EU and Brazil seem to be really, really pushing for Apple to adopt USB-C. So I do think that would encourage the likelihood of them switching to it, but I won't say confirmed. I won't say it's like a for sure thing, but the likelihood grows every day. So that's why I just say be careful, because I saw everyone do this exact same thing last year, especially when Front Page Tech dropped the whole iPhone 14 video right before the iPhone 13 came out, and everyone was like, whoa, the iPhone 14 is going to look like the iPhone 4, and it's not going to have a notch, and it's going to have these new buttons, and the battery's going to be so great, and the camera bump's gone, and everyone was like, man, skip the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 sucks, everyone wait for the 14, and now here we are, a couple months to go, iPhone 14 is going to launch, and it's like nothing like what we originally thought. Of course, it still has a camera bump, and no, it doesn't technically have a notch, but it still has a very big pill hole shaped cutout and the big camera holes up there and everything. So it's kind of like, I mean, everything was mostly wrong for what people were excited for. They thought there was going to be titanium chassis, and they thought it was going to be this nostalgia fest, and it's really just another S upgrade, because every upgrade is an S upgrade now. But yeah, it's not it's not a confirmed thing, but actually successful. Hold on. One sec. It says it's recovering. Okay. I'm pretty sure what's going on is Yeah, I'm pretty sure what's going on is the iMac Pro is, for some reason, maybe the lightning port on the iPhone is getting too hot or something, and then it's trying to switch the iPhone over to Wi-Fi connection. Oh my God, that's so funny. OBS is working, it's live streaming, but it says Wi-Fi is disconnected. So it's according to my Mac right now, it says that there's no Wi-Fi, even though I'm technically live, which is weird. Um, so if you're basically what I was trying to end on with that note was just that if you're willing to wait another year, there will always be a better iPhone model. So it should be not so much what features you're upgrading to, it should be how bad is your current model. Oh, buffering FaceTime. Audio's bad. Hold on. I can switch to the iMac Pro mic. Okay. I'm on the iMac Pro microphone right now, which I know is not great, but it should have the. People said it's smoothed out. Well, this is why it's in beta, I guess. Don't worry. Okay, if you can hear me clear, okay, now I'll address the super chats. So thank you, Jacob G, for donating, as you guys put up with this laggy stream, thanks to macOS Ventura. He says, people, if you really want to see Drew shirtless, go to Tailosive Talks. Find a video where he's swimming with Louise and he has his shirt off there. He doesn't need to do that in live stream. That's a very good point, Jacob. Thank you. Tailosive Talks, where all the shirtless content lies. Harrison2 says, I'm really thinking of upgrading. I hope they do sat phone technology. I know Qualcomm's been working on it for a while, but that got pushed again, and I'm not sure if it's going to be ready on the iPhone 14 models, but yeah, I do think that would be incredibly helpful in emergency situations where you're far away from cellular connectivity. Again, you wouldn't be able to use satellites for like watching YouTube videos or getting data as good as you'd get with 5G or anything, but it would be good for emergencies. You could send text messages and maybe you could handle a phone call with sat phone tech, but that kind of thing. It was smooth that effort. Sounds like a NASA mission. I don't think it's the T-Mobile Wi-Fi because I've done a lot of live streaming off T-Mobile using my MacBook Pro, and it's perfectly smooth. And I'm not plugged in via Ethernet, by the way. The T-Mobile gateway is in the living room right now. It's not even close to these Macs, and for some reason it's more stable in there than in here, despite not having the Ethernet connection. So it works perfectly fine with the MacBook Pro and the webcam, but I think the iMac Pro is trying to juggle this. For one, I'm using universal control, and then I'm using continuity camera, which I have plugged in via wire, but I think the phone gets hot and then it switches to wireless. And then the iMac can't manage all of this Wi-Fi at the same time and stay connected to T-Mobile, so it freaks out. I'd so much rather have a notch than that awful pill thing. Me too. That's why I'm comfortable keeping the 13 Pro Max. Yo-Yo says, how do you feel about the current state of the Tailosive network? I feel pretty good, to be honest. I mean, it's definitely not what I originally envisioned it to be, because I was talking about how our next car is a Tesla, and we'll talk about that more on the EV channel, and I saw someone say, you have way too many channels. It's true. I don't disagree, but there are advantages to having dedicated channels for things. Like, I used to do EV content right on the tech channel here, and it performed okay. You know, occasionally it would get a lot of views, but a lot of the time it wouldn't. And what I was discovering was a lot of people were watching the EV videos on this channel, but they were not watching the other videos. So I would get one audience watching for the Apple stuff and one audience watching for the EV stuff. And I was like, well, they're both technically technology, but I'm getting totally different audiences. And once I started posting content on a separate channel just for EVs, they performed way better. I could label the channel as automotive, and the CPMs were that for better. So you get a different set of advertisements for the electric vehicle channel versus the tech channel. So the tech channel got to lean more into what its primary audience was, and the EV channel got to lean primarily into what its audience was, which allowed me to expand on all the subjects I cover. And I think ultimately the network performs better that way when the channels are more specified for the fields they're serving. And no, I mean, originally my hope and goal was to have like active content coming out of every channel. So every day we were posting on gaming and movie reviews and music. And I wanted everything to be super active, but I realized how my skills, I feel weird describing it that way, but my so-called talent was not as transferable outside of tech. So for some reason, you guys are watching this, but so for some particular reason, I was able to create tech videos that people were interested in watching. Enough people were interested in watching those tech videos that I could make a living at it. So I thought, okay, now let me get more into making other kinds of videos. I'll do gaming content, or I'll do movie review content, or I'll do music I'll do whatever, and try to get those channels off the ground and make them more of a success. And I've just discovered that those other channels and those other genres are very, very saturated, and there's a lot of people doing them, and the only way you can really make your channel or make those different genres stand out is if they find something unique and they find something that keeps people there instead of elsewhere, and I struggle to find that. Something that sets you apart from everyone else on YouTube. So I don't mind having the extra channels, because a lot of the times I either want to play, I feel like playing a game, or I want to talk about a movie or a TV show, and it gives me a good outlet to do that instead of, some people are like, why don't you just have one big major channel? It's like, I bet a lot of the tech people would be really annoyed if I just started dropping movie reviews on the tech channel. They'd be like, I don't care about this. Why am I watching this? So it's better to have an outlet that some people watch. It's not that we get like no views or no attention on those other channels. Some of them do pretty well, but it's just not enough to sustain a livelihood or anything like that. So I've just kind of come to terms and accepted that I'm going to be the tech guy, because I've tried very, very hard to expand in other genres and do different content. And the closest I've gotten to channel expansion with some success is EVs, but that's still kind of an offshoot of tech. It's really just kind of diversifying the tech channel into multiple different streams. But I've reached so many different people and so many more people by having an EV channel that I never would have reached, and I never would have made as much or been able to produce not just as much content, but as much interest if I didn't have that dedicated EV channel. So that's kind of an expansion in the network in a way. It kind of lets people know with the concept and idea that there can be like multiple channels from one guy, and that guy can have multiple opinions on different subjects. So I like going in depth and talking about all the different EVs on the market, but I also like talking in depth about Apple and all their products and their competition and that kind of thing. So I'm limited now by the technology of my time. I'm limited now by time. So depending on the day and depending on what's going on, as much as it would be fun to be like, well, you just got to go all in and live stream on gaming for 5 hours a day, or you do a politics channel where you post every day, or do a news channel, or people can come up with new ideas, or do a space channel or an investing channel. It's easy to come up with ideas like that, but there's only 24 hours in the day, and I'm already doing 2, sometimes 3 videos daily. And after I do a couple of those, and I don't have that much time to work on something else. And I've tried, early last year, I was like, I'm going to try to get back into posting on Tailosive Talks daily. And it was a lot. I was feeling that kind of, that burnout. I know that is a generic term, and I kind of hate it when people use that, but it was true. It was like 4 pieces of content a day being produced is pretty draining. And I was slacking in many areas. I had to make content and cut corners on content to make it worse so that I can get it done faster. And a lot of the time I was putting into talks was not really seeing an equal return on investment. So I was like, okay, I'm working extra hours and extra long, and it's resulting in very little payoff. So, and I was lacking of ideas or subjects to cover on those channels. So I kind of just am fine with Tech and EV being the daily channels, the podcast channels being weekly, and then Tailosive Talks just being whenever I get around to it. I don't need it to be a daily channel, because even when I posted there daily, it wasn't making a substantial amount of money that enabled me to do so much more. And the same thing with gaming, or Tailosive Food, yeah, that kind of thing. It was tricky to work those things into our lives and our schedules. So What happened to the recent streams on the gaming channel? They should still be there, but time. If you're wondering why I'm not doing more of them, it's just difficult to make time for all those different things. I miss a Tailosive space too, but I'm not embedded enough in the field to be able to produce content on it regularly. And again, I just don't have time. There's so many channels covering all the stuff going down at Starbase now, and I would not be able to offer anything much different or very unique apart from what those channels are already offering. And I've only got so much time in the day to work, you know. So that's how I feel about the current state of the network. Is it just kind of accepted what Tailosive is going to be known for, which is tech stuff, whether it's EV or Apple, and I'm comfortable with that. I don't feel like that's a failure because I'm very happy with my job and I'm very interested in the subjects I'm making. It's not like, oh man, I wish I could do so much more. I don't have the time. It's like I'm not terribly interested in the gaming industry. You know, I've gotten into it in the past, and I always kind of get tired of certain games, and then I want to move on. And a lot of games that people enjoy, I try and don't enjoy. So, you know, I've done the consistent gaming stream thing before, and just didn't really find my stride with it. Whereas I get more excited and hyped, and I love speculation, and I love talking about, you know, electric vehicles and Apple products and what they're doing with it, or how Apple's going to price certain things and that type of thing. So I'm doing what interests me. I hope that's a point that can be taken taken away. And these subjects that I'm focusing on are more interesting to me than any of the other subjects. I would much rather do all this than space content or gaming content or movie review content. So I'm totally fine with it. Tailosive food is booming. Yeah, food is kind of a joke, but it's a joke I take seriously. It's kind of like, I like, just for the sake of the memory, being able to document what we had for dinner or what we had for lunch on any particular day. Notice you lost some weight. You look good. What did you change in your lifestyle? We just started counting calories mostly and just watching what we eat. I really do not exercise or work out as much as I should. I want to work out more, but again, it's a commitment and a time thing that I need to get better on. But I was like, okay, a lot of my job, I'm at a desk and sitting around. Thank you for the super chat, Karen. I'll read that in a second. But I was overweight, and I wanted to address that. So we just kind of monitored how much we were intaking. And you just got to figure out what your burn rate is. You just take your height and your weight, and there's calculators online that help with this. But essentially, we figured out how many calories I burn a day. And in order to safely lose weight, you don't want to dangerously lose weight because it's not sustainable or good for you. But in order to sustainably lose weight, you just consume a little bit less than that daily burn rate. So it's not a fast way to burn rate. It's a steady thing. It was kind of like a New Year's resolution I started the year off with in 2022. I was like, I want to lose weight. I want to be healthier. I want to eat healthier. And yes, I want to exercise more. I got to get more on that one. But I at least just did not want to be overweight anymore because I had been overweight for 4 or 5 years. So we figured out what the daily burn rate was, and we eat a couple hundred calories less than that per day, which essentially results in me losing 5 to 10 pounds a month. So some months I don't lose as much as others because there's holidays and there's vacations. And like on the Hawaii trip, I gained a bunch of weight because we were eating so much food and going to all these parties with friends and stuff. So there was a lot of food that I was eating that took me over my daily burn rate. But now that I'm back home, I'm trying to get back on track. I didn't gain like all the weight back, thankfully, but I'm now considered in the safe weight range for my height, which is good. But I'm trying to get I'm still on kind of the upper end of safe. Like if I go on a vacation like I did in Hawaii and I eat a bunch, then I start to go back into the overweight category. And I'm trying to get like comfortably and like safely into the healthy weight zone, and I'm just not there yet. So I've got a little ways to go. I basically want to weigh under 180 pounds by the end of the year. I think this morning I weighed in at 188, so I've got like 8 pounds to go. But I've got a lot of time to do that, so it's a slow process, but it works. Anyway, Karen Super Chat says, "Is the Tailosive?" No, the Tailosive logo is inspired by, for one, the sheep of a head, because I said I was the apple sheep, and for two, it's the it was the 5 channels of the Tailosive network, and the original logo was inspired by the Halo energy sword, but Yeah, that's a weird way to take it. I've never heard that one before. Would I rename the channel to Tailosive Apple? Most stuff you talk about on here is Apple. Could have you done it? And you could have another channel called Tailosive Tech. No, I found the overlap. I'm comfortable calling it tech because there's a lot of videos that do well on my channel are not Apple related, including internet service reviews, phone service reviews, and I do talk about Android occasionally. I've taken a break on it on the past year or two. But before that, I was talking about Android more frequently, and I do think in the future I'll probably have to dive more into Android once Apple gets less interesting. I'm kind of okay taking a break with Android right now just because um, there's enough going on at Apple, and I think that's what most of my audience is interested in anyway. But a lot of people found my channel and still ask for me consistently to do Pixel rants. And when a lot of people ask, like, what's your favorite Tailosive Tech video? The most common response I've seen is ranting on the Pixel. So that's what a lot of people know me for, and I do plan on continuing to do that in the future as long as Google keeps making weird mistakes like they do. And there's weird decisions that companies make, like Meta was making a smartwatch and it looks stupid, and I did a video on that did pretty well. And so there's a lot of subjects in the consumer tech space that are close to Apple but not Apple, whether it be internet service or subscription service. We talked about Netflix and stuff like that, and streaming services, and Twitter being bought out. So there's more stuff, but I think that the electric vehicle space was just different enough that I didn't see very much overlap. I think there's a lot of people interested in Apple that like watching my videos on Android, mostly because I'll complain about it or talk about why it sucks. Or um, there's even people that are like, well, he's an Apple sheep, but he likes something about Android, so that's saying something. So it's like it's a direct competitor, and it directly correlates with Apple in that way. Whereas EVs don't really. A lot of people watching EV content are auto enthusiasts, people that like pickup trucks and cars and those types of people. A lot of them are less interested in the consumer tech stuff, accessories and that kind of thing. Um, yeah, a lot of people prefer that. From what I've discovered, most people are very comfortable having two channels because it's like if you like EVs and you like Apple, just subscribe to both. Problem solved. Whereas if you don't like one but you like the other, and I just did one channel, you would have to get bombarded with both, and there'd be a lot of content you're not interested in. Does it feel redundant to use Apple products to produce videos about Apple products? A little bit, yeah, but a lot more of my day I'm just producing EV content now, so that feels less redundant. But I also find it kind of fun because it allows me to review the equipment I need as I'm using the equipment. So that's what I love about like channel members that watch the behind the scenes live streams. They get to watch me work, but it's kind of interesting to them because we talk a lot about MacBook Pros and M1 Max chips, and I get to show off how Final Cut works as I'm producing the content. So it is kind of a paradox in that way. But no, I don't have any intentions on channel rebrands. I've thought about it many times in the past, and I keep coming back to no, I don't need to rebrand this. So I'm happy with the naming of the Tailosive channels right now. Tailosive Travel is Tailosive Talks. We're already doing lots of travel videos over there, and it's basically like non-tech related content that we want to make. We put on Talks and travel stuff and that kind of thing. Let's see. When the Apple Car comes out, which channel would you post to? That would be an EV, so I would put it on EV. But I would probably promote it on tech because I know it correlates a lot. But I think the tech audience is more interested in smartphones, tablets, watches, and even if Apple did make an EV, which I'm not convinced they are, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's coming, it's coming." I don't think it is. But even if it did exist, it would still, even though it's from Apple, it would be catering to a very different market. The same people who buy iPhones are not the same people that are going to buy $100,000 cars. That's just that's just not how it works. Don't all tech YouTubers use tech to review tech? Yeah, they do. I just use the best tech there is, for me at least. You think an Apple branded alarm clock could exist in the 2020s? Yeah, it's just it's an app. It's the iPhone. They're already making it. Boom. My Pixel's camera app and message app is kind of broken. That's not good. Yeah, I've heard a lot of bad things about Pixel software, so that's why I'm not in a big rush to review them because that was the problem last time I reviewed them, and from what I've read, it's still a big problem when I use them. The Tailosive Times, the Tailosive Post. Yeah, I know. There's an infinite number of channel ideas, but a very finite amount of time, and somewhat finite of an interest. I don't think even if I went like full time on gaming, I would enjoy it as much as Tech and EV. Podcast channel coming soon. We already have one. Tailosive Think Different. No, we already did that. Yeah, we have a tech podcast channel and an EV podcast channel. So yeah, we got enough channels. I agree. Hopefully, I won't be making any more in the near-term future. That would be good. Yeah, the alarm clocks will exist before the iPad gets the weather app. That's for sure. Oh, Mary Jo asks, how are you and Louise? I love her. She's so sweet and awesome. I do too. No, she's good. We're just trying to stay cool. We just got back from Hawaii, so reality of not living in Hawaii is sitting in with us. But the Tailosive Skits channel, that's Tailosive TV. That already exists. I switched to Android in January, and I've regretted it ever since. Man, you're really not encouraging me. I'll be honest, I was thinking, like, I've been thinking for a while now, like, all right, there's a lot to talk about with the Apple Silicon transition. You know, the iPhones are kind of maturing, and I'm losing a lot of interest in iPhone upgrades. That's why I'm not upgrading this year. But I was okay with just sticking with mostly Apple content because I knew that there was lots to talk about with the new MacBook Air and the M2 chip and now the Mac Studio and, you know, the new Pro Display whenever that comes out, new Mac Pro. Like, there's a lot of exciting upgrades, and I've seen polls and stuff when news articles ask people, like, what are you the most interested in? What's the most interesting thing going on at Apple right now? At the top of all the polls was the Apple Silicon transition and the Mac lineup changing across the board. And I have to agree. I think as far as what's going on at Apple, that's the most interesting. And we're almost done with that. You know, we're halfway through 2022. We only got a couple Macs left to complete. My thought process was, okay, once this whole Apple Silicon transition is done, that's when the Macs are going to start to feel very mature and the upgrades are going to start to feel very boring, because M1 to M2 chip is never going to be that big an upgrade. Same with M2 to M3. Even if they figure out, okay, now we're on the 3 nanometer architecture, so you get a little bit more of a performance boost, still, it's just performance boosts. And you'll never get a performance boost or a battery performance gain as massive as you did from switching from Intel to Apple. That was a big jump, and I don't think we'll ever get a big jump like that again because everything is Apple made moving forward. So that means that the future of the Mac line is just going to be a whole lot of 20%, 15% faster, 10% faster, 20%, 18% faster than before. It's just going to turn into a bunch of graphs. So once the Mac transition was complete, I thought, well, maybe I should do something interesting. I'll mix it up a bit because Apple's kind of, you know, streamlined everything and ironed a bunch of stuff out. So maybe I'll like try a really, like, if I review Android again, which I'm not saying I never will, but if I try Android again, I want to do more than just try it out for a couple weeks and then tell you my thoughts. I want to do like a long-term review. So I thought, okay, I'll switch to Android and maybe find a PC that I could edit off of and try to see if I could get comfortable outside of the Apple ecosystem and if I could find any advantages to being outside of it, and give it a real honest try and use it for like a year or more or something. And then I could post update videos about how I feel about the tech, because it would give me a lot of information and it would give me a lot of opinions, and basically it would just give me lots of content to report on and give you lots of things to talk about. Even if I didn't like it, there would be lots of things I could document, which I think would be a good thing if there's very little to talk about in the Apple space. But truth is, I hear so many complaints about people on Android right now and how terrible the market is and how there's not that many great options, and basically all you can do is Samsung and Google, and they're not great at these things. And now that I'm making all of my thumbnails with the subject lift on iOS 16, and I'm utilizing the battery life on my MacBook Pro, and it's saving me so much time to be able to export with Final Cut and the M1 Max chip, I'm like, man, even if I did that and I did like a long-term Android PC review, I think it would be miserable. I think it would severely limit how much content I could produce, and it would take me longer to make thumbnails, and it would cost me a bunch of money, and by the end of the process I would just be like, this was not worth it. I basically had to spend thousands of dollars to find out that it was not worth doing. So I don't know how I feel about that plan anymore, about like once Apple gets boring, just converting over to Android. And just, I think it would be, not because I'm done with Apple and I hate Apple and I want to try something else, but I just think that for the sake of the audience and you guys, it would be interesting to watch me go through a long-term experience like that. I've thought about doing that for years. It's not really a new idea. Even way back in 2017, I was like, well, what if I went all in the other direction? And if it was terrible, I would have a lot to talk about. And if it was good, then great. I'll find advantages, and maybe I'll fall in love with a bunch of hardware outside of the Apple ecosystem. And if I can find a way to work more efficiently and work better with all that, then all the better to me. But I'm not convinced that'll happen at this point. Working at a phone store, I've seen too many Fold 3s broken or defective within days of purchasing. Yikes. That's concerning. Jeez. Can you guys hear that outside? Did I mention I hate gas cars? You ever did the keto diet? I know what it is, but no, I never did it. Back then, it seems like you were the only Apple channel. Now I see everyone being an Apple fan, even channels like Dave2D. What happened? Why has everyone begun to love Apple? I think it's just because a bunch of people like Apple products, and a bunch of YouTubers finally realized that if you made content about Apple, then it does pretty well because a lot of people like Apple. So they're willing to watch Apple content. And there weren't no Apple channels before me. There was definitely Soldier Knows Best did a lot of Apple coverage. iJustine has been here since the beginning, and she always did Apple stuff. And Everything Apple Pro was doing Apple stuff very early. So it wasn't as common, but I think it kind of clicked in a lot of YouTubers' heads that you should probably take them seriously because a lot of people buy their stuff. So it's worth looking into, and maybe people care about more than just performance or specs and that kind of thing, or more than just modularity and repairability. Some people care about design and aesthetics and the ecosystem and all those things working. There's a lot of faith people have in that. Thank you for the super chat, Ben. He says, if you did that, how would you handle the ecosystem with Apple not using an iPhone? How would you handle the ecosystem with that? Well, I would still have all my stuff. I'm not saying I would sell all of my Apple equipment. But I mean, most of my videos are not reviews. That's another misconception. Whenever people ask me, like, what kind of YouTube videos do you do? I'm like, mostly covering tech stuff like phones, watches, laptops, tablets, that kind of thing. So people are like, oh, so you review all kinds of phones. And I'm like, no, I review like 6 products a year, but I'm posting daily. So I don't need to like I don't need to post review videos every day. Most of the Apple stuff I'm talking about is news on prices and leaks and rumors and how Apple could do this, or wish lists. Sometimes it's just me saying Apple should do this. I can still do all of those videos even if I'm not in the ecosystem at all. Even if I'm not on the daily using an iPhone or a MacBook or watch, I can still talk about Apple. I'm not saying I would stop posting Apple content for a year or more. I would still cover all that stuff. I would just also be able to cover my experience with Android and find the pros and cons and the huge cons and all that. But that would be a big transition, and I'm actually genuinely concerned that Windows and Android doesn't have the hardware necessary for me to do my job. I know that there's some that obviously can do video editing and can take videos and all that, but I'm concerned, like when I went on my trip to Hawaii, or when we edit videos in Puerto Rico and that kind of stuff, and I'm posting content daily, I need the battery life. I need the performance. And if I went with a machine that took longer to export and had worse battery life, and my phone just wasn't able to airdrop, footage that I record to the computer as efficiently, that it would basically cost me a bunch of money. It would slow down my workflow and might not be worth it at all. It might be interesting, but might eat into my free time quite a bit. So I'm a little scared to do that transition because it might backfire. No, the quality is pretty great on this, other than the crashes it has over and over again. Universal Control has been working more reliably for me lately, which is weird because my MacBook Pro is on Monterey and my iMac Pro is on Ventura, but it's still working fine, which I thought you had to be on the same version. I guess not. You're almost at the iPhone 15, which is pretty near the 16, which basically is right at the 17, so you should just wait for the 18. Good logic. I like the way you think. Unreal Cousin says, I've used Android a lot, and it's basically the same as iOS, only specific things that are annoying about each other. You can get better value if you want a cheap phone. I guess that's what concerns me. I don't really need or want a cheap phone. That's why I buy iPhones, is because I like having the best possible phone. But from what I've read, Android is not as strong in that factor. Android has the much better value, but iPhone has the much better quality typically, at least in aging and video performance, which I care a lot about. I know that Androids typically take better pictures, but I do not care. I really do not care. And things like AirDrop and iMessage and iOS 16, the subject lift in photos, those are things I'm using daily and make a big difference in my workflow. Now even continuity camera is going to make a big difference in my workflow, so not being able to access that as easily. I'm sure there's some app I can use on Windows that lets me turn my Android phone into a webcam, but it probably costs money and has a watermark and doesn't work as smoothly and crashes and all that. So I'm kind of holding off on that big transition concept until I see the hardware on the competitors get really, really good. I want to see them catch up to the M2 chip, and I want to see them catch up with the iPhone in terms of ecosystem and software support and video performance. I want to see them get better. But thank you, Neem, for the super chat. He says, hope we get an iJustine / Tailosive / SnazzyQ collab with the next year or so. Would be dope. It'll be better than the just... I don't know who they even are. I think a lot of people want collabs but don't know how the collab would work. You just want us to talk? About what? Just answer questions that we already answer. I've had that happen a lot where they're like, you should collab with this creator, and they just get together and then they start talking, and then it's honestly it's not as interesting as you may think. I've done it several times. I've done collabs with much bigger channels, and then the videos don't usually perform that amazingly. You'd think they'd be a bigger impact. I think a lot of people that don't do YouTube full time assume that collabs are a much bigger deal than they are. Once you actually do them, you're like, oh, that was it. Okay. Did we get a bunch of new people watch it? No, not really. Oh, okay. It's almost like people watch that creator for being that creator, and they don't instantly follow every creator that creator collabs with. Doesn't work that easy. If they invited me to collab with them, I would try to make time for it. I'm not saying I don't want to collab with them. I think a lot of people ask for it, and then once they get it, they're like, oh, okay. That's it. They just kind of talk about things, and you watch both of them, so. Oh, no. Continuity camera freaked out again. Let's see. What's going to happen? Are we back? Are we back? I just think Tailosive collab would be super awkward. Yeah, I think most collabs are awkward, to be honest. iPod Touch 4 still looks fine. Screen is bright and vivid. Really? That's impressive. I got my Pixel for the camera and the ability to download any app from the web. I guess you can do that. I definitely would not care. I can download things that aren't on the store. Like what? I don't know, there's one app. Helps me pirate content. Oh, okay. Great. Awesome. No thanks. But all of the firmware issue, all the software bugs people have been reporting make me go, yeah, as cool as the Pixel 7 design looks, I would be annoyed as heck with all those bugs. Yeah, so it seems like after beta 2 testing, continuity camera is still pretty buggy and still likes to crash on occasion. So I'll keep testing it every time we get an update. It seems, I guess, a little bit better than before, but not much. So hopefully by beta 3, this is a bit more stable. And I hope it's not an iPhone overheating problem, because if that's it, then I'm not sure if they're going to be able to address that ever, because it's not that hot in here. And if you try to use continuity camera for an hour and it crashes 3 times, even at the public release, that's going to be problematic for me, unfortunately. But would I ever collab with Luke Miani? Yeah, there's no one I wouldn't collab with if they asked. It's just a matter of, is there something interesting we can do, and can I make the time for it? Because again, I'm pretty limited on, with all the videos I'm posting and stuff. It's hard to make time for everything. So if he wanted to do a collab, I don't know what we would do. You just talk. You just do a podcast. It's like, okay, what do you think of this? Yeah, that's cool. What do you think of this? Yeah, I don't like it. Oh, you can. If he's up for it, I'll try to make time for it. But I just personally enjoy chatting with my friends on the Tech and EV podcast. Some people are asking, like, why don't you invite more people on those shows? It's because I don't get to talk to my friends off of those podcasts very frequently. I enjoy chatting with them, and Mike and Nick and Randy. Then they've all got lives and jobs, and it's busy for them too. So we don't really talk that much outside of the podcast. So on Friday mornings when we all record, that's when we all kind of get to catch up. But if we have a guest on, we kind of have to build the show around them, right? Because I'm not going to invite someone on and tell them to ask me questions. If I invite someone on, I have to ask them questions, and it's pretty much an interview, which kind of eats into my friendship time with the guys. So that's why I'm okay having the same guys on there, because that's what I enjoy, and it seems like some people enjoy that when they listen to the show. So, yeah. You make games and test them. Well, good for you. I would never do it. Would you recommend an athlete upgrade from Series 7 to Series 8 watch? I'm a prolific weightlifter, and I run at least 6 days a week. Well, once it comes out and we know what features it's rocking, it may be worth it. But at this point, I'm going to say no, it's probably not, based on what we know. Maybe if it has the heat detection thing. I didn't think the body temperature sensor would be that big a deal, but someone mentioned that it could be great for heat stroke detection. If someone has heat stroke and notifying the authorities, kind of like fall detection on the Apple Watch. Maybe if that's a concern, it would be worth upgrading for, but I'm going to guess no. That's my prediction. Thank you for the super chat, Karen. Says, wear a mask. You don't want to give your Mac a virus. That's very true. Good advice. I'm sorry you don't get to talk to your friends often. That sucks. I hope things get better soon. No, it's not really like something's wrong. It's just the way of life. I mean, I'm good friends with Nick, Randy, and Mike, but we all live in totally different places. I mean, for a while, all four of us were in different time zones. So obviously, when you don't live in the same places and everybody has jobs and lives and families they got to take care of and people they got to interact with, you just naturally don't get to talk with them too much. So the podcast allows for us to have this like consistent scheduled time that we all get to hang out and catch up with each other, which I like. So I don't think there's really any way that changes because none of us are planning on moving to be close to each other. With my line of work, I work from home, so I don't interact with a bunch of people daily, other than you guys, which is why I enjoy live streaming, because you're the people that are interested in the same stuff I'm interested in. So I'll go live regardless of if people are super chatting or not, just because it's fun. And then when I'm done at work, I hang out with family and my wife and, people that are less interested in tech, but still interested in different things. And, it's not that I don't enjoy spending time with other people, but we have our hobbies, right? And this is like a full-time hobby for me. That's the way I look at it. Technology creator house, that sounds absolutely horrible. I've seen so many of those YouTuber houses type things that they're so cringy and such an invasion of privacy and such a nightmare. There's so many horror stories I've heard from YouTuber houses and stuff. And I won't name names, but I know people that were involved with those kinds of things, and all sounds terrible. No thanks. I'll take my own house. I'm comfortable with that. But anyway, I appreciate you all for tuning in today. I could probably do this for hours if I wasn't careful, so I'm gonna call it here. Thanks, Continuity Camera, for working when you did. Oh, one last super chat. Christian Diloveria, thank you for super chatting. He says, Apple has a job offer for ad service developer. Could they be building their own ad platform? Ad service developer. That wouldn't shock me if they were developing something like that. Maybe if they wanted like a in-house ad platform for podcasts, or maybe if they do a cheaper Apple TV Plus tier in the future or something weird like that. or Apple Music has a free tier with ads just like Spotify. I don't know. It wouldn't shock me if they were building their own ad platform, but I'll need to look into that, Christy. And thank you for the super chat. I need to check that out. Hopefully someone's reporting on it and found where it's listed. I thought they had like their own in-house ad thing for the App Store, but maybe that's something else. iAd or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate you all for tuning in and all your very generous super chats. You guys are very kind and fun to interact with. So I appreciate all of you, and hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Stay tuned for more videos. Bye-bye.